From Venture X Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
And the crew, yes. We have made it through another week, and we are very, very, very excited to have you with us today for a very special Friday show. We have got Brandi Braley. Faye Curtis couldn't be with us this morning, but her and Brandi will be back on again during the month of October because, of course, as you know, did I say welcome to the crew? Did I say hello and welcome to the crew? Hello, welcome to the crew. We are talking about breast cancer awareness this month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's so much to be done, and the fight against breast cancer is not over. We need good warriors like our friend Faye Curtis, who will be on at another date, and Brandi Braley, who is on today, out there to kind of help lead us through the fight. We've got so many different ways to make money, raise funds for breast cancer awareness, also to bring that awareness to folks. This is a fight that impacts so many of our moms, daughters, wives, cousins, sisters. It hits home with a lot of people. Men also can get breast cancer, and I know those numbers have risen somewhat over the years. So this is a very, very important topic. And as myself personally, my mom is a breast cancer survivor. 30 years now, I think it is. My stepmom is a breast cancer survivor, so it hit our family. So I really appreciate people like Brandi and what she does. And then a little bit later in the show, we're going to have the current Miss Texas, who will be competing in the Miss America competition in December, and she's going to be talking about another oh so important topic, and that is suicide prevention. Y'all, with the pandemic, suicide numbers are higher than ever. And this is something that you've got to be aware of, especially with those younger kids and those teens. And so she's going to be talking about that. So we've got two beautiful ladies on the show, both talking about important causes. Good morning to you, and hello, Brandi Braley. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. And I know Brandi. Now, if you're like, I think I've seen Brandi before. She is a member of the crew. She is just an awesome all-around human being. 2 years in a row, winner of Teacher of the Year at Legacy Preparatory. So, just an incredible human being who is so talented, does so much. And then she and I are chit-chatting, and she's like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this breast cancer walk in California. I'm like, where do you have time for all of this stuff that you do, Brandi? So welcome, Brandi, to the show. Where do you find the time? Because you've got a crazy busy job, and then you still find time to volunteer and help out with an important cause like that. So let's talk a little bit about time management. How do you do that? And then also let's talk about what it is that you're going to be doing this month, and how can people help? How can people support you? And what are some of the, I know there's always new statistics and new information out there about breast cancer. What are some of the things that are going to be talked about when it comes to breast cancer during a pandemic, breast cancer awareness in 2021?
Time management that's a fun one. I think just setting time aside, like I try to stay at work long enough to where I can finish everything that I'm doing for the day, so I don't have to bring it home. And then when I go home, I make a point to walk the dog so that I'm prepping for my walk, or, spending a few minutes here and there posting about the fundraiser or getting people involved on campus. So on campus this October, every Wednesday we're doing a fundraiser that students can wear a pink shirt for $1. And all of those proceeds are going to the Homeland Foundation.
I love it. So
you're for change.
Okay, so you're involving students at a very young age and creating awareness. Okay, now see, that's fantastic because you're obviously much younger than me, young enough to be my daughter. By the way, hi to Brandi's mom, love her mom. You're younger, and so I love it when somebody who's when I hear about people in their 20s and 30s who are already involved in this oh so important cause. But you're taking it a step further, and you're involving truly like kids, kids, young adults, teens. How is that being received? Are they excited about this? Do they know about it?
The kids are excited. There's some incentive in it, right? For, getting kids involved. Incentive is important for little ones. So in our second fundraiser, we're doing Change for a Change the week of October 15th. And the class that raises the most amount of money through Change will get an ice cream party, because we're trying to instill in them that even if it's something little like a monetary donation, they're still making a change, helping funds towards research, or specifically helping a family that's going through this right now. So we're kind of making them more aware of philanthropy and making like personal connections to their community.
And again, I applaud you for that. Here at JP, Kathy, and the crew, we're real big on that next generation and reaching out. Breast cancer awareness is one thing. Like I said, we've got Miss Texas coming in studio a little bit later to talk about suicide prevention. I think back in the day, especially like when I was young, way back in the day, I think parents were still trying to protect their kids from the real world. Brandi, think about it. With social media and with everything out there, if you haven't already talked to your kid about it, guess what? They've seen it online. I know I experienced it. My kids would be like, "Oh yeah, we saw that online," and I'm like, "How did you have access to that?" "Well, Mom, you don't need access to that link." And I'm like, so I think it's smart that you're really pushing to make sure that younger generation is involved. Let me ask you personally, do you know somebody, do you have a family member or a friend who has had breast cancer or is a breast cancer survivor? How did you, at a young age, get involved in breast cancer awareness and fundraising?
So when I was a kid, through our schools, we did fundraising every month, but it wasn't until some family friends were diagnosed, as well as once I met my wife, I had found out my mother-in-law, her mother was a breast cancer survivor, as well as her aunt. And so her uncle does these walks every year. He's like one of the top fundraisers in the Dallas area. He goes and speaks to kids and adults about the fundraising opportunities for it. And I'm actually doing the walk with him in November.
Oh, now see, I love that. So, like you said, your wife had it runs in her family, her mom and her aunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's very, very aware of it then, obviously. So I love that. So you've teamed up with her uncle. And how does the walk work? Because Faye, when she comes on, we'll be talking about some local, a local walk that she does. Is this in conjunction with Susan G. Komen? Because you're going to be in California for this walk. Is that right? That's awesome. We want pictures. We want pictures. We want you to do a remote. When we've talked about this, we want you to do a remote when you're out on the road walking. We'll bring you in via one of our links, and we'll have you, from the trail, and have everybody say hi. But how did you get involved in an out-of-state walk, and how can somebody support your efforts if they can't go? And first of all, how do you get involved in one of these walks? And then second, if you can't do the walk, how can you help?
Yeah, so our Uncle Paul does it every year, and he picks a different walk. So this year he picks San Diego, and in order to qualify to do the walk, you have to raise $2,300, and it goes directly to the Susan G. Komen Foundation.
Wow, okay.
So I have a link, and on that direct link, it goes to my specific account. So you join a team, and on that team, each team member has to raise $2,300 in order to take part in the walk. And so when you do the walk, though, it's really cool because it's 20 miles a day for 3 days, but at night you get to camp. Like, they provide tents for everybody that wants to, or if you want to stay in a hotel, you can, but you can camp out with everybody that's doing the walk and just share stories. And I think it's going to be a really great experience, especially San Diego in November.
How awesome is that? I just love that. And I'm sitting here thinking, when you said tents, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I was like the one that, my sons and my daughters, Boy Scout and Girl Scout stuff, I'd be like, okay, and I'm leaving at midnight, and I'll be back at 4 a.m., or go sleep in my car. So you can go, while you're on the road, you can do a hotel, you can do the camp out thing. So I think it's really neat. What I love is all the camaraderie. Talk about the support that you get from the community and from those who are walking. Talk about how that works, because it's really it's such a tight-knit family. Yeah,
definitely. So the team that I've joined, they do walks every Saturday together, and so unfortunately, my schedule hasn't allowed what I was finishing up my master's, so my weekends are booked. But next weekend I'll have a free weekend, and so we'll start doing those, walks with them in the morning. They walk as a team and get prepped. In the month of October, I'm starting to do I'll walk to and from work. That way, I'm getting some miles in every day. It's about 5 miles when I'm at my Plano campus. So I'll walk to work and home from work as long as the weather permits, just to make sure I'm ready and I'm able to do that. So I think it's great, and everybody provides support through text message, just checking on them, making sure they're getting their miles in, getting prepped for the walk.
Well, and I like that preparation, because I was like 20 miles a day. That is something. I mean, you've got to have. You can't go out and just be like, okay, I'm going to walk 20 miles today in good times. That's one of those things you've got to prepare for and get ready for it. So how do you physically get ready for that? And do you need special shoes? Because I'm sitting here thinking my little leopard print, Skechers shoes or whatever they are the ones actually they're like a generic Skechers. I don't think those would make it on a 20-mile walk.
No, I found shoes that were really comfortable for me, but my uncle gave us advice. He said, make sure you buy a shoe that's a size or a size and a half bigger, because your feet will swell when you walk that much. And also, an open-toe Tevas are good, because those you can adjust the straps. Wear socks, you won't get blisters. And so I've been doing that a lot.
Oh, okay. I love it. So you're already preparing ahead of time. Let's talk about if somebody's saying, "Wow, I can't participate in this," or and a lot of folks with the pandemic, have been nervous about getting back out and about, even though you are outside for this walk. You could social distance. I mean, truly, you could just kind of tell people, "Hey, I'm social distancing," and have everybody keep at a distance, so to speak. But if they don't feel comfortable doing that, or they don't have the time or the physical capability, how can, if somebody can only make a $5 donation, would you accept that? Does it need to be some big, ginormous donation? Can they push the link out from you as well?
Yes, definitely. I would encourage everyone to share. I mean, the money goes straight to the Susan G. Komen Foundation and supports all their research and everything they do. And anything helps, $1, 50 cents, whatever anybody has that they can spare.
Okay. Well, and again, I think it's really important. And then what is that link? I know we've got it on the screen, and then we'll drop it into some of our social media feeds. What is the link? If somebody just says, "Hey, Brandi's cool, I want to help support her cause. All this money's going to a good," and you're like, "Yes, please have them think Brandi's cool and support my cause." But if they want to just, hop on your link, share it out on their social media, what is that link?
Yeah, so that link, it's going to be, 1 second. It's a very long link, but if they wanted to do that, they could always send me a text, and I can send them the link.
Okay.
So I know I've shared my number out with you before on your show, but my number is 214-264-4432, and I can forward the link that directly goes to my team's page with my donation link.
Fantastic. As a matter of fact, I think this is actually, we have got your link up on the screen right now. So can you talk us through this? Which the different buttons are, what's to volunteer, what's to go and raise money? How do you do that? Because it looks like you've already raised, how much have you already raised? 40% of your goal. Good for you.
Yeah. So on the website, you can look at research the different events. It will tell you about the ones this year and next year, so you can start preparing. It tells you all about Susan G. Komen 3-day walk, why, who nationally sponsors it, and any questions you may have. There's also a Get Involved button where it tells you where you can register, a calendar to help you see different events, but also what's going on in different states. And it kind of gives you fundraising tips and goals to where you should be at for that day. And then you're able to donate from the Donate Now, or if you want to join the walk, you can always register for the team. And I joined Allie's Uncle Paul's team, and so this is their 14th race that they've done together.
Wow. Oh my gosh. How amazing is that? Yeah, I'm always just blown away.
Mhm.
One of the things I've noticed over the years, in, talking with you and talking with Faye and just different
Mhm.
friends of mine who do this, you really have those same teams that come out year after year after year, and people are just, do or die. They are going to help this cause every year, and I think that's so great. I think it
Mhm.
speaks to the camaraderie and just the importance of how much breast cancer hits home with our family and friends, Brandy?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
definitely.
oh,
I've had a lot of students
yeah.
that their parents have been affected by it. So I think bringing
Yeah.
this to the school kind of gives them a different level of support than they've had in the past.
Well, and I think, and I love that you're doing this, that you're pushing this at the school. I know the high school that my daughter went to and my son now attends, they do like a pink out day at the school, and kids come with their
Mhm.
hair dyed pink, and pink tutus and pink socks and pink fairy wings and all kinds of
Mhm.
fun stuff like that, and pink t-shirts. And I think I just think it's so important to reach out to that next generation, because kids aren't clueless nowadays. Kids are in the know. So, again,
Yeah.
how do folks get in touch with you, and how can they support your effort?
Yeah, if they need the link to directly donate, they can text me. My number is 214-264-4432, or on the link that you guys have up there. And I also have the Facebook fundraiser going. I can, when you upload this, I can attach that fundraiser
Please
link to it.
do. Please do. And we will share that out on the JPK broadcasting pages, and get that out there for you. So, yes, send that on over, and we're just glad to help you. And thank you so much for the work you do in the community with our
Yeah.
youth, in the classroom, on the campuses, and then especially as we start Breast Cancer Awareness Month. God bless you, and just thank you so much, Brandy, for the work you're doing to help fight breast cancer. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, that was Brandi Braley, and she was talking about how can we fight the good fight against breast cancer. For one thing, it's awareness, getting yourself tested, self-checking, all of these kinds of things. But then also, money is what we need. First of all, for the women who can't afford, they don't have insurance maybe, or they can't afford the breast cancer treatment that they need. We need money for that. But then also for looking for a cure. At some point, I would love for this to be in my lifetime, and I'm getting on up there, so hurry. I would love to see a cure. I think at some point, I think that's just so important. And something else that we would like to see happen, we would like to see our Miss Texas become Miss America. There you go. Well, we are very, very excited. We've got Mallory Fuller. I'm putting in my personal plug. I know we'll be cheering her on. Mallory Fuller, who is the new Miss Texas. You're 2021 Miss Texas,
Yes,
right?
ma'am, 2021.
Because we went from, Chandler was Miss Texas for 2 years, for
Yes.
19 and 20, is that right?
Yes.
And then with the pandemic, and then I was just so thrilled when they called your name. I think you are such a fantastic representative of the
thank
Miss
you.
Texas organization. Obviously, those of you who are watching are like, yes, she is gorgeous. But you have got such a heart of gold. And first of all, her talent is so cool. Next time you come in, we're having you bring your fiddle.
Awesome.
We're
Okay.
having you bring the fiddle, because that I love you when you're playing the fiddle, and you have got such a heart of gold, and such a desire to serve. You really do have a servant's heart, Mallory, and your platform, and Susan Schuler's in studio. Hello, Susan. We'll get a picture of Susan, Miss Texas, and myself, and we'll post that on social media. Of course, Susan Schuler, who we just love dearly, she is with the Miss Texas organization. How many years were you the business director, business manager? Gosh, 8 years. And so she has, ever since Caroline Carruthers has brought JP and I, the new Miss Texas, and we've gotten to have a relationship with each Miss Texas, and we just love them dearly, and talk about these important platforms. And Susan and I had talked about this when you won. I think this is such an important time for your platform. During this pandemic, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, suicide is up. Suicide, especially among younger kids. And what is so heartbreaking, Mallory, has been how many not just teens, not 15, 16, 17-year-olds. We're talking kids who are going into the hospital who are 7, 8, 9 years old who have attempted suicide. And that's heartbreaking. So, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're so happy to
I'm
have
so
you.
happy to be here.
Yeah, and so we've got lots to talk about with you. Being Miss Texas, how is that? Because you've had a couple of months to adjust to that. When is the Miss America competition? But I think let's start off and let's talk about your platform.
Okay.
Because this is another way, like the breast cancer awareness, this is another way to save lives.
Right.
So let's talk about your platform. How did you come up with this? And tell us about that.
Absolutely. So my social impact initiative is Mallory's Mission, Suicide Prevention. And I lost one of my good friends to suicide when I was in high school. I was only 15. And it was devastating because it was so shocking. None of us could have ever imagined that we would have lost
Was your
someone.
friend 15 as well?
Yes, Johnny was 15.
Gosh,
so
that's so tough.
It was 15 or 16.
Okay, yeah.
But it was devastating because it was so shocking because we never in a million years thought that it would happen to somebody like him because we didn't know the warning signs of suicide. We didn't know what to look for. So it was something that just rocked our world. But it's really amazing to see how a tragedy was turned into something that can save lives. Johnny's family partnered with an organization called the Jason Foundation to get the Jason Flat Act passed in Texas, and I've been able to continue that partnership with the Jason Foundation.
I love that.
I actually went to Nashville, Tennessee on Wednesday.
I saw that,
and I got to meet with the team at the Jason Foundation,
that's
and we talked about how much they have grown since 2015 and just the work that they are doing and the work that I'm able to take into schools here in Texas because of the Jason Foundation. So it's an incredible organization, and I truly believe that talking about suicide, talking about the warning signs, talking about what we can do when we see those warning signs in our friends can save lives.
Well, and so let's, first of all, something you mentioned, and we have a lot of educators and people who are in education and admins and things of that nature who do follow our show. So if you're available to go out and talk to schools, how does that happen? I think it's a very small donation as well. I mean, this is something you can have Miss Texas come out and talk to your entire campus. How does that work?
So for a donation to the Texas Cares for Children Foundation, I am able to go into schools and talk about suicide. For my junior high and high school aged populations, I talk a lot about the warning signs, what we can do. And then we also have a conversation about mental health and how it's okay to not be okay. It's okay if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, whatever it is that you might be struggling, that's okay because there is help that's available.
And I think I love that portion of what you do as well, because mental health, well, just like breast cancer touches so many families, mental health touches every single family. I mean, there's, if you think you're like, oh, yeah, I've got a cousin who has, and more people, because I think this is good, especially if you've got Miss Texas out there talking about it. It's okay to not be okay. It's like you said, it's okay to talk about, hey, I suffer from depression, or I suffer from bipolar, or whatever the case may be. I know years and years ago, just like, well, it used to be, gosh, way back in the day, you couldn't even say, if somebody had cancer in your family, they're like, so-and-so has cancer. They whispered because you just didn't want to say that word. Well, mental health has been like that for so long, up until really recently. And now you see people on social media posting about it. You're out there talking about it. What are some of the warning signs?
Right. And mental health is a really interesting conversation because everybody has mental health. We all need to work on our mental health. And I like to say that counseling is for everybody. We all need to go see a counselor every once in a while.
Well, you go to a doctor for a checkup to make sure your, cholesterol's okay and your heart's beating all right and all this kind of good stuff. But why is mental health separate from that?
Right.
I think that's interesting. Now, I did realize just very recently, in the last few years, that taking my kids to the pediatrician's office, and this just, I want to say maybe the last 6 or 7 years, the pediatricians started having them with like kind of an iPad device fill out, and it was all questions about mental health. And I was filling it out as the mom, and the kids were filling it out as the kids themselves, separate from me. And at first I was like, well, this is odd, but then I thought, no, this is really good, because again, mental health it's just as important. your kids can be healthy as a horse.
Right.
You can have a 15-year-old who everything's working fine, no juvenile diabetes, they're not overweight, they're everything's running well, but they may be really in jeopardy of losing their life because of their mental health.
Right.
So how do kids, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're a friend, and you have somebody who maybe struggles with depression, what do you tell, like when you go do your speeches, what do you tell people to look for?
So the warning signs of suicide, the very first one is depression. If you notice that somebody can't turn around their mood, or their hygiene has changed, or they're sleeping more than they used to, or they're not sleeping as much as they used to, all of those can be signs of depression.
So hygiene,
hygiene, yes.
So like they're not showering, not shampooing, or their hair, or
right.
That's look different.
Yes, neglected hygiene is a sign of depression.
Okay.
But then we also have warning signs of suicide that aren't as well known. So one of the ones that I really like to talk about is a lack of interest in something that they once enjoyed. So I actually learned from the Jason Foundation when I went on Wednesday that Jason, his father's the one that created the foundation. Jason came to him one day and said, I don't want to play football anymore. And he used to love football. And to him, that was like, okay, well, you've had a rough couple of games, we'll talk about it later. But looking back, that was a warning sign of suicide because he was struggling and he didn't want to do something that he loved anymore. So anytime that somebody, if they're a dancer or a singer or they're involved with the arts and one day they come to school and they don't want to do that anymore, that can be a very clear warning sign of suicide.
Okay, so let's say you're with your friend, and you've got a friend who says all of a sudden, I've been doing student council forever and a day, or I've been doing band forever and a day, and they're like, I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay, if you're that student, because it's one thing if you're the parent, it's yes, you've got the opportunity because that's your child. You can say, hey, let's take this conversation to the next level, and maybe let's go talk to somebody. Is it okay as a parent to ask your child, are you thinking about suicide? I mean, I know we're, again, as parents, and especially my generation, we're kind of confused on this because we were brought up, well, don't talk about it, because then you're going to put that idea in that kid's head. If that idea is already there, so talking about it, is it okay?
It's absolutely okay. That is the best thing you can do if you recognize warning signs in someone. That's actually part of my school program is we bust myths about suicide, and that is one of the myths, is that if I ask somebody, it's going to give them an idea, and that is not the case. If you recognize any kind of behavior in somebody that is concerning and you think that it might be a warning sign of suicide, asking them is the best thing that you can do.
So even a peer. So you're saying I'm a 16-year-old, my friend's a 16-year-old, and all of a sudden they say, I'm quitting band.
It's
ding,
actually,
ding, ding, let me say something to them.
It's interesting. I did a program at Sam Houston, and I got to collaborate with the counseling department at Sam Houston. And something that I learned is that I think it's 80% or 60% of teens and young adults tell a friend before they tell an adult. So that's why it's important that the teens are learning the warning signs as well, and learning what they can do so that they can help people, because you are more likely to reach out to a friend before you reach out to an adult.
To a parent. And that does make sense, because you tell, and those of us who have raised teens, you know your kids, you're like, oh, okay, well, you've already told 10 of your friends, and thank you for not telling me that you're not going to pass that class, kind of a thing. But it's one of those things that, if I'm a peer, if my friend is saying that, I am very depressed, and you're worried about your friend, is it okay for that 16, 17, 10, 9, 13-year-old, whatever the case may be, should they go to a teacher? Should they go to a parent? Should they tell their parent? I mean, where do you draw that line, or should you shout out to anybody you can get to?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I tell them, is that you cannot promise confidentiality. Even if somebody comes to you and says, please don't tell anyone, you cannot promise that, because ultimately it is so much more important to save that person's life than it is to lose that friendship. So true. And I know for that age group, for junior high, for high school, that's so hard.
That's tough to hear, because you really do, at that age, you're so trained and you're so in the mode of, I'm going to protect my friend no matter what. But actually, what I hear you saying, what you're teaching these kids when you go out and speak is, hey, you're not protecting your friend. You're actually possibly hurting them by keeping that from an adult.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what are the options out there for kids who are suicidal, for people who are thinking, hey, I don't have any other options other than suicide? What are some options out there for them?
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's really hard to really show somebody that they are loved and they are needed and they are important. But one thing that I like to do when I go into the schools is talk about my friend Colby.
Yeah.
So when we were in high school, Colby was struggling really hard with suicidal thoughts. She wanted to end her own life. But today, she's still with us, and she has the most joyful life. She's engaged. She graduated from Texas A&M. She is probably the happiest person that I know. I like to share that story because it is a story of hope. It is a story of she was in this deep, dark place, and now today, look at what she's doing. So I love to share that story because it shows them there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And then I ask them, no matter what it is that you're struggling with, whatever it may be, just try telling somebody. My mom was an elementary school counselor, and she likes to tell me that there is no problem that is too big for somebody to help you work through. So telling somebody, it doesn't have to be the counselor. It can be a friend who can help you. It can be any adult, any teacher at your school that you trust. Just tell somebody because they can help you get through whatever it is that you're going through.
Right. Yeah. If you have a coach, if you have somebody, somebody at your church or even a neighbor or anything. And then I think what's so important is whoever is told that information, those parents have to know. The parents have to know. And then, and how do people get in touch with you and follow your platform and support your platform? How can they get in touch with you?
I'm very active on social media.
Yes, she is.
You can follow at Miss America TX. And then I also have a blog. It's on MalloryBrookFuller.com, where I talk about mental health. We have Real talk about body image. I also have suicide prevention educational materials
on that blog.
Yes,
ma'am. That's fantastic. I love
so
that.
So I take a lot of the information from the Jason Foundation and put it on the blog so that more people are being aware of what the warning signs are, what you can do, and how you can get help.
Oh, I just think that's wonderful. Well, God bless you for the work you're doing in the area of suicide. I think during the pandemic, and I've said this a bajillion times on the show, we have not yet seen the tip of the mental health crisis we are in for. Alcohol abuse is up, drug abuse is up, spousal abuse is up, child abuse is up, suicide is up.
Ma'am. And
so I think if we don't recognize that us having been isolated and people kind of walking around halfway living in fear because you don't know, if there's going to be another wave of COVID, we're dealing with so many unknowns. I think this is really a time for this platform, and we just really appreciate you doing this. And anything we can push out on our social media, send it our way. Susan has all of our contact information, so just send it on our way. Let's talk about Miss Texas. When were you crowned, and how has it been to be Miss Texas?
Yes, I was crowned at the end of June, so it's been about 3 months, and it has been a whirlwind, a dream come true. I've been competing for quite some time now. I've been involved with the organization since I was 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
So literally living my childhood dream, and it's such a surreal feeling, and it's so I'm just so honored to be Miss Texas, and really the opportunity to get my message out there about suicide prevention and to go into these schools is it's unreal, and I'm so thankful.
I love that. I just saw on, I think it was your Facebook page, I think maybe was it yesterday, you had a bunch of students behind you. So as Miss Texas, you come out to these schools and you speak to the entire campus if it works out that way. So how can people book you for an appearance, and does it cost very much? Is this something that's affordable to schools?
It is affordable to schools, and the way that they can book is through misstexas.org. Okay. I have a booking manager, and she really tries to work with each individual school to make sure that we can get into those schools and get my message out there.
If you want Miss Texas to come in, I'm looking in the camera, if you want Miss Texas to come out to your school, they will work with you, because I know y'all have gone into Title IX in different schools where there just wasn't the funding, but because that Miss Texas platform is such an important message that Where there's a will, there's a way. If you want Miss Texas to come out, she can come
there
out.
There is a way.
Yeah. So what is a day in the life of Miss Texas like?
That's a loaded question.
Up at 5 a.m. to sleep at 1 a.m.
Right. Yes. And there are days like that. There are days that you get up at 5 a.m. and you don't get back till midnight.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, I would never trade it for anything. And every day looks different. There was a day a couple of weeks ago that I went and I did 7 school presentations to an entire school district.
Wow.
And then there are days that I get to come and do things like be on the radio show. I got to go to the state fair.
And we saw that.
So
Okay,
much fun.
one of my favorite, first of all, I love, and that's another thing about Mallory. She looks striking, stunning, beautiful in a gown. One of my favorite pictures I've seen of you, you're on a carousel at the State Fair of Texas, and you've got this gorgeous gown on, and I'm like, oh, I just love that. I think I hearted it and then put a comment, I'm sure. And then 3 hours later, she's back in jeans and she's got a Fletcher's corny dog.
Right.
So I'm loving it because you're so versatile and you're so down to earth, and I just think that speaks volumes to your character. And the Miss Texas title and Miss Texas, that's in y'all's blood and your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about this. This is a family affair for your
ma'am.
family. Yeah.
Yes. So my mom competed when she was our age. And then my older sister, Morgan, got us all started back in 2004, I believe. She started in the teen portion of the competition. And then my sister Madison and I followed suit.
Yeah.
Madison was Miss Texas in 2018. And now I am
Right.
so blessed with the opportunity to serve as Miss Texas too. So it is definitely a family affair. And it's been really cool to see the way that our family has gotten even closer through it.
That's so
I like to say
nice.
that the year that Madison won Miss Texas, we actually got to be roommates at Miss Texas. And
Oh, how fun.
I think we got closer that week
Yeah.
than we were before, and
Yeah.
being biological sisters. So it's really cool how the sisterhood of the Miss America organization, Miss Texas organization, has even played a role in my biological
in
sisters.
your relationships
Right.
at home. I think that's amazing. And I love, you talk about a sisterhood, and JP and I have been very blessed to now be part of the Miss Texas organization ourselves for years now. So, well, what year was Caroline?
2016.
2016. Oh, there. Well, okay. Of course, I'm looking to Susan, but of course, Mallory has those statistics. And so, we've been following the pageant and following each Miss Texas, and then we were able to do a remote this week and actually go to some of the competition. And there really is a sisterhood. I think that really speaks to me as a female. Something, having been in politics for the last 30 years, I've seen so many women, and unfortunately, you see this a lot in life. Women who are putting other women down because they view them as competition. And here you have an organization where y'all are all lifting each other up, and it's that women's empowerment by way of supporting other women. I think that's fantastic. So it's got to be great to be a part of that sisterhood.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things is that I feel like when you surround yourself by women who are doing amazing things, every single girl that competed at Miss Texas was doing amazing things in her community, for the people around her. And I think when you surround yourself with people like that, it pushes you to be a better version of yourself. And so I don't think I would be the person that I am today without this organization. It truly has shaped me into who I am. And I think that sisterhood definitely plays a role in that.
Well, I think, I see y'all, first of all, I see y'all out at like fundraisers for each other's platforms, and these are all just some incredible organizations and platforms that y'all are supporting, and some very relevant, real life, and as younger people getting involved and making a difference in the community, I think that helps so much as far as setting an example. But y'all are out there supporting each other and lifting each other up, and even that continues on to the Miss America level and the Miss America stage. And I think, is Miss America like a milestone year this year?
It is. It is the 100th year of Miss America, which another thing that I'm so looking forward to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you would have told me when I was 5 years old watching Miss Texas and Miss America that I was going to go to the 100th anniversary year, I would have told you that you were crazy. Yeah. So I'm just so thankful that I get to be a part of this historic year of Miss America.
I think it's so amazing. And let's talk about those of us who are going to be cheering you on at Miss America. When is that competition? Yes. Oh, and by the way, my mom loves you. She said she's not on social media or anything. She's like, oh, please tell Miss Texas we said hello. She was thrilled when you were crowned. we watched it on my iPad at home because I couldn't figure out how to get it on my big screen TV. So, anyways, but hey, when is the Miss America competition, and how can people support you in that effort?
So, Miss America is on December 16th, and just by supporting, I'm selling ad pages for the Miss America competition magazine, so they can support in that way if they would like to. If you own a business or you want to promote something, then you can support by purchasing an ad page at Miss America, but also just watching and cheering me on and getting me ready to go to Miss America.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about your talent. I think yes, we do have some time. Perfect. I want to talk about your talent because you are phenomenal. So you play the fiddle.
Yes, ma'am.
So how did you get into that? And it's so striking because you've got this tall, statuesque, gorgeous young lady, and then all of a sudden she busts out on the fiddle, and you're like, she could have been part of the Charlie Daniels band, you know. I mean, it's just amazing. Well, and you've got to be a fan, you know. We recently lost him, and what an amazing talent. How did you get into playing the fiddle?
I love that you mentioned that about Charlie Daniels. So he was a big partner with the Jason Foundation, and when I went on Wednesday, they were talking about him and how devoted he was to that cause and suicide prevention, which was amazing. But I learned that he actually could not read music, which I did not know that about him.
Wow.
But I can't read music either. I play completely by ear. And so to learn that one of my idols as a fiddle player also cannot read music was really cool. But I started playing when I was only 6 years old. And I mentioned my older sister Morgan earlier in the show, but she was a fiddle player. And so cool. I remember when I was younger, when I would watch her, I would just get chills all over. And, you know, as a 6-year-old, you want to be just like your big sister.
Yeah, of course.
So I started playing, and it was really cool to have that mentorship through learning how to play the fiddle. There's some really cute pictures of me when I was 7, 8 years old, and Morgan is playing the fiddle, and I'm standing there beside her, like looking up at her. But yes, so I started playing because I wanted to be like my sister Morgan, and then I just fell in love with it and continued it. So
that's so awesome. So do you already know what song you'll be playing as Miss America? Is it a big old fast
fiddle song.
Okay.
Yes, it includes the Orange Blossom Special, which I'm really excited about. That is my favorite song to play.
That? Okay, we definitely, Susan, we definitely want to have her in here, and she can play that on our show because I would love to hear that. Sneak preview, if you will. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so what are your goals this year as Miss Texas? When you look back over, 9 months from now, you're looking back at your year. What will tell you that you have been a success as Miss Texas?
That I love that question, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. But going into the schools, it definitely has my heart. So being able to do as many school appearances as possible, and just really get my message out there. I want to be Miss America so that more people can learn about suicide prevention, and I can reach a wider audience because of that. Suicide prevention is kind of one of those things that's hard to measure. It's hard to measure.
It is,
if you can save a life, because you never know. Every single school that I go into, I could be saving a life because of the programs that I'm delivering.
There could be a child, a teen in that audience that day that has that on their mind. And unfortunately, nowadays, with everything that kids deal with, unfortunately, we've got that's part of it. Or again, this could be a kid who's got their best friend sitting next to him, and they're like, something's off with my best friend. I need to go talk to the teacher.
Right.
I mean, you're right. You don't know that you didn't save a life that day.
And it's really interesting because I actually got feedback from the school appearance that I did yesterday. And she told me that there were teachers that had conversations with their students after I left because their students were like, wait, I think I might need to ask for help. And so even just planting that seed
that gives me chills.
And
That's
getting
amazing.
that conversation started, I can't be the one to continue that conversation, but getting that conversation started, knowing that there are educators in that school that want to be there to help those kids is really, really rewarding. And it really makes me know that I am making a difference.
Absolutely.
And I'm just really, really thankful.
And that's what I love about your heart. Now, you've taken this to a whole new level, and just if you didn't think Mallory didn't have enough going on, you are an author
Yes,
of a
ma'am.
children's book. And now some of you from the crew will remember that Mallory's been on when you were a Miss Texas
Yes, ma'am.
ambassador, and you had written a book about this. You were also, I believe, on the Ask Dr. Be Good show.
I was,
and
yes.
Because this book is near and dear to your heart as well. So let's talk
Yes.
about the book that you have authored.
Yes. So Henry's Happy Heart is really about asking for help with your heart issues, just like you would if you had a headache or a question on your homework.
Yeah.
So it teaches kids mental health foundations in a kid-friendly way. So it's going and seeing your counselor. And I've developed a whole elementary school program based off of the book. So it's really cute. We have a big 4-foot Henry
I
that
love
I
it.
take into schools
Oh,
and
I
some
love it.
letters that spell out Henry. And it's really cool because when I get to the part where I'm talking about, if you were really sad, who would you go see? And sometimes they'll say the counselor, but other times they're like, I would tell my best friend, or I would tell this teacher. And so
Even at a young age like that.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So to be able to, tell them, look, your school counselor is here and she can help you through any problem that you're working towards. So that's really rewarding as well, being able to talk to the kids about mental health, because I think we definitely have made strides and we are talking about mental health more, but we have to start having those conversations with kids as well, because like you said, the age is getting younger and younger that we're seeing losing kids.
We had, and I don't misquote me on this, but I want to say it was like Cook's Children's Hospital in Fort Worth or something, and they had done, this was a while back, they talked about during the pandemic, the kids who come in with attempted suicide, so thank goodness, hopefully, they're able to save a lot of those kids, but they said, we've got kids 7, 8, 9, and I'm just thinking, how is that? And that's why I'm so glad you have this book. And you can also you can go and do presentations. So not just middle school and junior high, you can do presentations that are age appropriate to these school kids with your book. I just sit back and think, how does that even get in a kid's mind at such a young age? But again, that's the reality. That's what we're living with today in society. So you've got this phenomenal way to introduce this program to these kids through your book.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just love that. Gosh, I'm trying to think, what is your favorite part about being Miss Texas? What do you love about having this platform? I know that's, that's a stumper question. Can I be a judge, Miss Schuler? She's like, no, you like all the girls
amazing
too much.
judge. No, and I know we've talked about it, and it really is that suicide prevention. But I think also getting to represent this organization is definitely my favorite part, because, like I said, it's been my dream since I was a little girl. And when I was a little girl, I was not the outgoing little girl that you would imagine a Miss Texas would be. I was very shy. I was painfully shy. And I didn't know how to talk to strangers. When I first started competing as a teen contestant, it was bad. It was rough. I could not get a word out of my mouth on stage. And so I really have grown so much through this organization, through the opportunities that it's given me, and just really pushing myself outside of my comfort zone through Miss Texas. So I'm not even the same person that I was 3 months ago because of all the opportunities that have been thrown my way as Miss Texas, but really through this organization and getting to be the representation of everything that has created who Mallory is. So being able to talk about Miss Texas, I do recruitment webinars to recruit new contestants, because I want more girls to know about the opportunity.
On social media.
Ma'am.
We had we've had a few folks they've been regular guests on the show, and they've got daughters, and they're interested because of the scholarship opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's amazing.
Yes.
I think Chandler gave us like the number at one point of how much, and she's like, I would never have been able to further my education the way I have if it weren't for Miss Texas.
Yes. So I totaled it up, and I've gotten over $32,000 in scholarships. And so I'm currently getting my master's degree from Baylor University to become a speech pathologist. And the scholarships are life-changing. Even in this year of Miss Texas, I believe it was $23,000 is what I gained in 1 year. So it's just The scholarship money is life-changing, and it is providing
Absolutely.
opportunities. Like Chandler said, she would have never been able to further her education
Yeah.
without the Miss Texas organization. So it absolutely is changing people's
amazing.
lives and allowing people more opportunities.
And I've seen the young ladies go through the pageants, especially once when we had that 2-year and we had the Miss Texas Ambassador program, and they didn't walk away with the title of Miss Texas, but they walk away and they're like, oh, I have job opportunities out the wazoo
Right.
now, and I've got this and I've got that, and they just say how it literally has changed their life for the better. And again, I think that goes back to and speaks volumes about the importance of the integrity of the person, the character of the person, and young women empowering other young women and lifting them up. You can really change the world when you start supporting other people, and especially with a platform like suicide prevention. And we wish you, from here on JP, Kathy, and the crew, we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
We will absolutely be cheering you on. If we can get you in, I know you're crazy busy, we would love to get you in one more time before Miss America.
Let's do
to
it.
play that fiddle.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes. So we'll make that happen. But thank you so much.
Yes.
And we will just be praying for you,
Thank you so
cheering you
much.
on. And thank you so much for tackling such a It's tough. It's
very tough.
I know
Very
my
tough.
my daughter. The school she had gone to her whole life. When she was a freshman in high school, an 8th grade friend of hers who she had cheered with committed suicide. And so, my daughter was, I'm trying to think, she was even 15 years old yet when she went to the funeral of somebody. And as her mom, I was at a loss. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how. I scrambled for how do I explain this to my very young child, whose friend, who's even a year younger than her, has committed suicide. And you would have never in a million years, smart kid, beautiful kid, talented kid, and just like that. That was it. And so I think, there is a lot of responsibility, like it or not, on the peers of these students to recognize, hey, something doesn't seem right. And sometimes, people will even put it out on social media. I'm really struggling. If somebody's struggling, you're saying, reach out.
Reach out, ask them what's going on in their life. It may not be suicidal thoughts,
Right.
And that's an amazing thing.
That's good if that's right.
But it might be, and in that
Yeah.
instance, you can help them find help and
can save a
potentially
life.
save their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again. How do people follow you?
Yes.
How can they, the Adventures of Miss Texas, how do they follow
Yes,
you?
on Instagram at Miss America TX.
Okay.
On Facebook as Miss Texas 2021, and then as well as MalloryBrookFuller.com.
Excellent. Well, Mallory, we think the world of you. Miss Texas 2021, Mallory Fuller. God bless you. We wish you nothing but the best, and we look forward to you being back in studio with your fiddle.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody have a blessed weekend. We've got This Pink Cloud coming on next, and actually the guest that's on This Pink Cloud today is also going to be on the Kelly Clarkson Show today, and it's an organization that helps if you're in recovery for alcohol or for drugs and you have to go off to rehab. Who takes care of your pets? Well, this organization will foster your dog. So we're really glad to hear that, because, addiction to alcohol and drug abuse a lot of time leads into the talk about mental health and suicide. A lot of times that's an unaddressed issue with folks who have that. So that's today from, is it 10:30 to 11:30? My brother, who's the host, is going to be like, oh my gosh, Kathy, you can't even remember what time. Brett, is that 10:30 to 11:30 today? Okay, so you can catch that, This Pink Cloud. And then we've got tomorrow morning talking all about Come and Take It, and that is the Veterans Show, Kilroy's Conversation. And then later on today, we've got the Snarky Parenthetical with Lathan Watts, and that show is just a hoot. And then Sunday morning, we've got the Ask Dr. Be Good show, and then we started all over on Monday with JP, Kathy, and the crew. So again, thank you, Mallory, for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan Schuler. We love you. JP and I love you. You know that. And I do want to say, speaking of JP, his father, who suffers from congestive heart failure, really struggling in the last 24 hours. So we want prayers for Stan, the man, who we just love dearly. And we want you to pray for JP's dad, because he's really struggling with congestive heart failure in this 24-hour period. So prayers that you get to feeling better, Stan. All right. Love y'all. Have a great weekend. Mwah.